पातु यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वञ्जिगातु भेषजम् शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे शञ्चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्तिः 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 सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः सहस्राक्षः सहस्रपात् स भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा अत्यतिष्ठद्दशाङ्गुलम् पुरुष एवेदगं सर्वम् यद्भूतं यच्च भूयम् उतामृतत्वस्येषानः यदन्नेनातिरोहति एतावानस्य महिमा अतो ज्यायागिश्च पूरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वाभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतम् दिवि त्रिपादूर्ध्व उदैः पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वम् व्यक्रामत् शासनानशने अभि तस्माद्विराडजायत विराजो अधिपूरुषः स जातो अत्यरिच्यत पश्चाद्भूमिमथो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत वसन्तो अस्यासीदाज्यम् ग्रीष्म इद्मः शरद्धविः सप्तास्यासन् परिधजः त्रिः सप्त समिधः कृताः देवा यद्यज्ञन्तन्वानाः अबध्नन् पुरुषम् पशुम् तञ्यज्ञम् बर्हिषि प्रोक्षन् पुरुषम् जातमग्रतः तेन देवा अयजन्त साध्या ऋषयश्च ये तस्माद्यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः सम्भृतम् वृषदाज्यम् पशोगस्तागिश्चक्रे वायम्यान् आरण्यान् ग्राम्याश्च ये तस्माद्यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः ऋचः सामानि जज्ञिरे छन्दागुंसि जज्ञिरे तस्मात् यजुस्तस्मादजायत तस्मादश्वा अजायन्त ये केचोभजादतः गावोह जज्ञिरे तस्माज्जाता अजावजः यत्पुरुषम् व्यदधुः कतिधा व्यकल्पयन् मुखम् किमस्य कौ बाहू कावूरूपादावुच्येते ब्राह्मणोऽस्य मुखमासीत् बाहूराजन्यः कृतः ऊरू तदस्य यद्वैश्यः पद्भ्यागुम् शूद्रो अजायत चन्द्रमा मनसो जातः चक्षोः सूर्यो अजागत मुखादिन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणात् वायुरजायत नाभ्या आसीदन्तरिक्षम् शीर्ष्णोद्यौः समवर्तत पद्भ्याम् भूभिर्दिशः श्रोत्रात् तथा लोकागम् अकल्पयन् वेदाहमेतम् पुरुषम् महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णम् तमसस्तु पारे सर्वाणि रूपाणि विचित्य धीरः नामानि कृत्वाभिवदन् यदास्ते धाता पुरस्ताद्यमुदा जहार चक्रः प्रविद्वान् प्रदिशश्च तस्रः तमेवम् विद्वानमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्था अजनाय विद्यते यज्ञेन यज्ञमजन्त देवाः यानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् ते हनाकं महिमानः सचन्ते यत्र पूर्वे साध्याः सन्ति देवाः अध्यः सम्भूतः पृथिव्यैरसाच्च विश्वकर्मणः समवर्तताधि तस्य त्वष्टा विदधद्रूपमेति तत्पुरुषस्य विश्वमाजानमग्रे वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् तमेवं विद्वानमृत इह भवति नान्यः पन्था विद्यते जनाय प्रजापतिश्चरति गर्भे अन्तः अजायमानो बहुधा विजायते तस्य धीराः परिजानन्ति योनिम् मरीचीनां पदमिच्छन्ति वेधसः यो देवेभ्य आतपति यो देवानां पुरोहितः पूर्वो यो देवेभ्यो जातः नमो रुचाय ब्राह्मये रुचं ब्राह्मं जनयन्तः देवा अग्रे तदब्रुवन् यस्त्वैवं ब्राह्मणो विद्यात् तस्य देवा असन्वशे ह्रीश्च ते लक्ष्मीश्च पत्न्यौ अहोरात्रे पार्श्वे नक्षत्राणि रूपम् अश्विनं व्यात्तम् इष्टं मनिषाण अमुं मनिषाण सर्वं मनिषाण ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Oh, I love the chanting of Chalakare brothers. Just over the weekend we had a family puja done at the Sanatana Dharma Kendra in San Jose, and it was so nice to see that Kumara Swamiji had this on with Chalakare brothers, and he and I were discussing it. He says, there is nothing like the pure sound of the swaras of these brothers. So he has it in the temple all the time, and so that was wonderful to see, and good to get a confirmation that this is really one of the best ucharanam, chanting of the Vedic swaras. Okay, let's move ahead. So again, just some revision first before we cover new grounds. So I think one thing to be clear about is that the Purusha Suktam is a Vaidika prescription for self-growth, for self-achievement. Yes, the bhakti and the stuti for Ishvara is all part of it, but the main objective is that you and I can lead our life in such a way that as soon as possible, hopefully in this life itself, we are able to achieve our final goal, which is complete freedom of the same freedom that Ishvara has. Because, as we have mentioned before, we are really all looking for Ishvara in that manner. And so to achieve that, this structure is given. So in this way, the important aspect of Purusha Suktam is the advantage of understanding the Varna and Ashrama system, which is a Vedika system. Varna and Ashrama. So we have said last time also that this is a two-level structure, two-level infrastructure. This is what it is. As scaffolding, it's an infrastructure for us to build our lives along. And so the one structure, one dimension was the ashrama system, which was given in the form of the Yajna Purusha. And so the objective, and so in both Varna and Ashrama systems, if we can call it a system, in both of those, the progress is done mentally. There's nothing physical to be done here. There may be some physical things like doing namaste to others and expressing our love, which is a physical thing. But really the objective is to make our minds so pure that I begin to reflect myself and begin to love myself. This is the objective really in life. If you can analyze it, you find is that because I am unhappy with myself, because I don't understand the importance of the pure Paramatma, which is nothing but myself, because I don't understand it, therefore I'm unhappy with it. I don't accept the fact that I don't know it, and therefore I don't accept myself. And so as a result, I am going around trying to do things that are just temporary, that are really band-aids. And the band-aids work up to a certain point. Symptomatic relief works up to a certain point. But really, I need to understand the very essence of the disease, which is ignorance, self-ignorance. And in order to see that, I need to make my mind purified. And once I see my mind purified, it's like a mirror from which all the dirt and the shaking has been removed, and it clearly reflects my own beauty, which I am unaware of. This is the essence of the whole thing. So the Varna Ashrama system is a way for me to purify my own mind. That's really what it is. There's nothing physical. It is an attitudinal thing altogether. Swami Dayananji would often say that Karma Yoga, which is of course the hallmark of Gita, Karma Yoga, and that's just another way of expressing Varna and Ashrama system, really. Just two ways of looking at it. So the Karma Yoga is purely attitudinal. Purely attitudinal. It's how I view my role in life and how I use it to submit things that are harmful to me away from me. So this is the thing. The Yajna Purusha, the Ashrama system and the Yajna Purusha is a lifelong process to discard the unnecessary package burden that I am traveling with. And so in essence, anything which is trivial in the sense that it doesn't really benefit me, I need to slowly learn to discard, because I have something important to discover, and I cannot put my mind to doing that unless I get less distracted. So the Yajna Purusha, the ashrama system, is purely to discard the incidental and to retain the intrinsic. Here's what the ashrama, the Yajna Purusha is. Now, the Shruti in the form of Purusha Suktam is giving us the other dimension, which is the Varna system. So in the Varna system, again, I would repeat the essence of the Varna system, just like the essence of the Yajna system. I keep on saying Yajna system, but it is really the essence of the Yajna path, Yajna itself. The essence of the Yajna is discarding the unnecessary. The essence of the Varna is discovering unity in diversity. So you can even make a headline out of this and underline it. Because all the details that we will talk about and all the details that we have talked about fall under these two headlines. So the Yajna, which is the ashrama, is meant to learn how to discard unnecessary burden. You know, what comes to my mind is all these professional climbers, trekkers that go and try to conquer Mount Everest or even some of the other peaks. So what they need to do is they of course start with a lot of baggage, and their Nepalese Sherpas help them with it, because no one can carry more than, 40-50 pounds at the most. And the Sherpas are accustomed to carrying more, so they all have all kinds of stuff that they do. But then as the heights become higher and the oxygen level drops, you have to think about discarding things that you really don't need. You need to just have the bare essentials for you to reach the height. So this is something like that, really. So in the beginning of our life, we are surrounded by so many interests, occupations, and desires that we don't think about it. Somebody would say, we're taking some lessons in cooking, or something, or tennis, or hatha yoga, or something like this. And even though you are busy, you say, okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm game. I think I can do that on Sundays. You get involved with that as well. Then somebody else says, by the way, we have a bridge club. And it is really something. Everybody is so friendly and so on. And they all like you. Can you please, we invite you, can you join us? So you say, okay, I'll join the bridge club also. Then somebody else says, we have a movie going party that we go to the movie. So like that, you get a lot of interests. And as you progress in life, you feel, are they really helpful to me? So all these preoccupations in your life prevent you from looking inwards. Because as long as you're going to a movie, you're playing bridge, you're doing this, ping pong clubs, whatever it is, hiking, going on vacations, you don't have an opportunity to look at yourself. Here's the thing. So really that's the hallmark of the Yajna Purusha, that you please keep on sacrificing and just keep the bare minimum. Now we again go back to Varna. In the Varna, the main thing to do is to learn the following. And that is, unity does not mean the absence of diversity. This is it. We should just close our eyes and just internalize it, the truth of it. We have a wrong notion of unity. Unity is not the absence of diversity. Unity is in spite of diversity. This is the key thing in the Varna. And so here we should begin to see this. The creation of the human body by Ishvara, any body for that matter, but let's look at the human body. The human person, the jiva. So the very design of the jiva is meant to illustrate this fact. I won't say meant to illustrate, but illustrates this fact very well. What fact? That there is unity despite diversity. Let's look at it how. So you and I are one person. That's me. When the telephone comes in and he says, I'm looking for Vijay Kapoor, and I says, yeah, I am Vijay Kapoor. That's me. And so you introduce yourself, you say, I am John someone's son, such and such, Rachel somebody. So you are one person. Now, that one person that you and I are, is that homogeneously one person? No. Because I find I am made up of a diverse set of tools that I'm working with. I've got hands. Important tool to, and the way this is made by Ishvara is just amazing. Is with 5 fingers and a thumb, including the thumb, and it has a shape where I can grasp, I can hold hands, and I have ears, and I have a mouth, and I have eyes, all different from each other. Some parts of the body display strength. Feet and your knees and the muscular part of your body. Some display cleverness of getting the oxygen from outside and circulating it. We can go on and on. There are so many different parts. The hand doesn't look like the brain. The brain doesn't look like the stomach. The stomach doesn't look like the elimination system or the sexual organs. The sexual organs don't look like the feet. They're all different. Everything is completely different. And yet, I have a unity. The way I look at it, they are all mine. My hands, my eyes, my mind. And so my attitude is that of unity despite diversity. I have now owned them. And so I look at that with understanding. I look at the diversity with love. I look at it with forgiveness, harmony. So if I'm eating too quickly and my teeth tend to bite into the tongue, the pain of it I tolerate. And it goes away very quickly. And I don't hit back to the teeth. The teeth are also mine. the tongue is also mine. And so I have mindness and forgiveness and tolerance to both of them. And another, Swami Mahesharanji pointed this out, he says, supposing you were to slip on some banana peel, and then what happens is that you can, when you slip on a banana peel, it is very sudden. You don't have time to really, get your footing or anything. You just, the whole body loses balance right away. And if you're not careful, you can actually fall on your face, which I see people doing this. For some reason or the other, they were not able to arrest their fall, and they injured their face, or worse even, the back, the spine gets injured. Now, when that happens, do you know who sacrifices for the rest of the body? The hands. When your hands may get completely scratched with blood coming out and so on, but the hands don't say, why should I sacrifice it for the body? I have nothing to do with it. It's all one single part all over. And so this is the essence of finding unity despite diversity. It is how you look at diversity that is important. And so the Varna system, which we will now study, is meant for us to learn how to be at ease with myself. It has nothing to do with the world. I may not do the world any good, but this is really meant for, if I can happen to do it with the world, that is wonderful. I mean, really speaking, you see the reports of this. Just today I found out that when the attack on the Capitol took place and all these house people were sequestered in a single room, what you found was that the Republican Party members, generally speaking, I don't know of everybody, refused to wear masks. They say that's not us. There's no... and so they hurt themselves, and a number of the people who are otherwise wearing masks, they are from the Democratic side of the business, they got COVID because of this. So yes, your own way of looking at yourself and others can be so harmful that you can hurt somebody else as well. But here, the harmfulness is primarily for yourself. So the Varna system is not meant for you. Please be very nice to Shudras and Vaishyas and Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. Nothing to do with that. It is meant for your own self. How you look upon the diversity that you're going to see in the samashti. From learning from the diversity that you see in the vyashti. Vyashti means the microcosm, which is me as a single individual. And learning from it, I should see that the samashti is really exactly like that. And so now to finish off that part, the Shruti itself asks the question in verse number 10, as we saw last time, which is, Yat Purusham Vyadaduhu Katidha Vyakalpayan Mukham Kim Asya Kau Bahu Kavuru Padau Uchchede. So the Shruti gives you a hint that listen, just like I created the Vyashti Sharira, I created the Vyashti Sharira very carefully, because as a complete person you need to have various diverse functions attending to you all the time, hands, feet, brain, stomach, etc. Similarly, please see that I also have designed the samashti system, the macrocosm, with a very careful eye towards diversity. And so you should ask me, you should inquire into Katidha yat purusham vyadaduhu katidhavya kalpayan. How can you visualize the very important parts of the diversity in the samashti? Please ask that to me. Who is the face? What is the feet? Etc., etc. Where are the arms? What are the functions? What are they doing there? Is this the way is this an accident? There's no such thing as an accident. Everything is very carefully designed by Ishvara. Absolutely, precisely. There's no mistakes anywhere. As Swami Dayananji said that many times, that really, if you look at the distance of the sun from the earth, it is very precise. If it was 10,000 feet closer, we would all be burned. If it was $10,000 miles farther, we will all freeze to death. No. How life is sustained, what the distance should be, how much heat should be there, what the progress of the seasons are, how the tilt of the sun and the tilt of the earth generates the seasons. All that is so precise. So similarly here also the design of the samashti is very precise. So there he says, Mukham kim asya. Asya mukham kim. What is the face of this person? So now we will discuss in a minute of you two. Why is he starting with the face? What is the purpose of starting with face? And so he doesn't say head. This is important for us to see. It says the face. And then the other things like kimasya bahuhu, kaburu, pada, all those things, 4 things are mentioned here. But starting with face. So this is what we have to now do. So here Swami Maheswaranji has said that our attitude towards the society and the different set of people that are resident in the society is an important measure for us to improve our own life's progress. How we look at the society is an important part of it. Just like how we look at the parts of my own body, similarly I should look at the parts of the rest of the body, the whole samashti. Okay? So here he gives a very beautiful example. Swami Maheswaranji does. He says, so society means not just one person but multiple people, at least 2 people, and then 3, 4, 5, etc., then the village, then the country, the state, etc. This is what society means. Society is not just a collection of people sitting together at one place, but a collection of people that have the same objectives, similarity of thinking. This is what society means. Just like you have clubs, so a social structure is also meant for that. So if you look at this, the fundamental social unit is the husband and wife team. Pati Patni, as it is said in Sanskritam. Pati Patni. The Pati Patni is an important unit, an important element. It's like the atomic structure. Each atom is to be understood. What is the function of this atom? And so here, the Pati Patni, the husband and wife team, is one such unit of the society. So let's analyze that. What does that mean and why? So the Pati Patni in the marriage is meant for lots of purposes. Very important of that is the propagation of the species, because karma and karma phala and having different people come and be part of this beautiful mela, beautiful play that is going on, is all part of the marriage, the sexual union of a man and a woman. This is a very fundamental part of the creation, not only for human beings, that is there for all the animals, all living beings. Their most important function is propagation of their species. This is one thing. But on the other hand, in addition to that, a very important function of marriage is how you look at each other. So this is what is called the beginning of the societal person, the Samaja Purusha that we talked about. So we saw the Yajna Purusha for the Ashrama and Samaja Purusha for the Varna. And so we have to grow as a Samaja Purusha, as a social person. And the unit of the social person is the husband and wife team. And Swamiji has given so many examples of the way the attitude should be, and it is. So here, I think that the times that we live in is also very important. It has decayed so much. This is what Kali Yuga is all about. The Kali Yuga means that the basic design of the human marriage has gone astray. And so now, how people behave with each other and so on and so forth is not what it should be. But it doesn't mean that, and this will be a defect which will go away after a while. So society will rediscover that the real value of a marriage is this, what is going to be talked about. So there, we're looking at the Vedic system. This is a Vedic book. This is a textbook of our Vedic culture. In the Vedic culture, what is supposed to be is that the marriage of a man and a woman is meant for a joint understanding of the presence of Ishvara. But there are still people that do that on very traditional families. I would say generally in the south part of India. But in general speaking, this is forgotten. You select, first of all, the whole system of arranged marriages is falling apart. But even in arranged marriage, what families look for is something so superficial. To the girl side, will look for somebody from the IIT who has sure shot chance of being successful in life. somebody who's got, they don't look at the personality of the person as much. There's no chance to do that. All you look at to see is he's got an IIT degree. Similarly, on the girl's side, you look for the fairness of the skin, the beauty of the face. And you should be somewhat educated, so you should not be completely different. Really speaking, the Vedic system was that the man and woman were selected on their loyalty to spiritual growth, and they both work together for each other's spiritual growth. As an example, Swamiji gives all these examples are all from Swami Maheshananji's book. I mean, he says, I've seen, and this is true even for our normal marriage also. Supposing food is being served for just between the two of them. Let's say the children are not involved, just the husband and wife. And the wife, let's say, is serving the food. She's the one who cooked and she's warming up and so on, as is done most of the time, or it can be reversed. And so she serves something, and the husband says, wow, this is very tasty. This is, you always make good things, but this is exceptional. Can I have one more of these? Swamiji says that there was only, whatever he's asking for, there was only one more left for herself. So in a non-spiritual marriage, she'll say, nope, that's just for me. You have to eat something else. Just do that. In a spiritually oriented marriage, she says, of course, there's one left. I had kept it for you. She sacrifices herself. She's very happy that what she made was appreciated by my husband. She doesn't mind not eating, just she eats something else. Swamiji gave just the other example. He says there was her husband wanted to buy a shirt for himself because his favorite shirt of the same color had become torn. And so he goes to the shop to buy a shirt for himself. While he's there, he sees a red color sari that his wife has been eyeing for a while and was not there. And he only had 100 rupees with him, or 200, or whatever the cost. These days are much more than that. And he said, forget about the shirt. I'll just buy the sari for her. And he comes home and his wife said, where is your shirt? He says, oh, you know what? They ran out of it. He doesn't divulge his love for his wife. He says, sacrifice it. He loves to give her the sari that he says, I'll buy the shirt some other time. What's the big thing? So this kind of an attitude is the basic unit of social structure, where you deny something for yourself and out of a love for someone else. And it is not as though you are unhappy doing it. No, you're not unhappy doing it. You learn to sacrifice because you feel this is the right thing to do. And I feel good about doing the right things. This is where, supposing as the example, you go there and you see a red sari and you say, well, maybe I should buy that. And he says, oh, I don't know, I need to buy something for myself anyway. Now, you bought the shirt for yourself, but you know what? For a long time you will have guilt, which will really pinprick you. I wish I had done it. That was a mistake. Her sari is also very precious to her. She's wearing an old sari. And I could have bought my shirt some other time. That was, when I saw it, it doesn't leave a good feeling. But here, the loss of his shirt is nothing compared to the satisfaction that I'm very happy that I did the right thing. So this sense of self-acceptance and sense of no guilt and so on, having a very pleasant attitude towards oneself. Really, that's the more important thing. It's not whether others like me or not, whether I like myself, whether I accept myself. This is the main thing. And if you have the right love and affection for others, then it is the right thing. This is the basic structure of the social growth of human beings, and it starts with this arranged marriage system in India is a very beautiful system, really, when you analyze it. Very beautiful system. Why? Because it is not rooted in some kind of love, passion, or just attraction to the other person. It's not rooted in that. As it is in when people find their own spouses, you are starting with, am I attracted to that person? Is that person, is he going to be good for me or not? Is she going to be good or not? This is what it is. Whereas the arranged marriage system says, you know what? You are there close enough. So the families also, they don't do it randomly. They actually do more backup search to see that the backgrounds of both the husband and wife are close together. So it's not that. But the attraction to the other person, the love and so on, that comes much later. Much later. It has nothing to do in the beginning, as it's not founded on that. You just get married. And then you begin to work as a unit so that you learn to sacrifice, as we saw. And you learn to accept. And you learn to tolerate. Because toleration, sacrifice, acceptance, forgiveness are the qualities that one needs yourself for yourself. The reason I am unhappy is because I am intolerant, because I don't accept others. It has nothing to do with the others, but I myself am unhappy. So therefore, the Varna system, starting with the home unit, which has been carefully designed in this arranged marriage system, is meant for that purpose. And then you expand it to the other parts of the society, as Purusha Suktam gives. So with that, let's move ahead. So here, unfortunately, the way the society is structured now has become so difficult. Why? Because in the old days, and still in the modern days, the next unit after the marriage was a village. And the design of the village was such that it is highly improbable that everyone in the village does not know everyone else. Once in a while you might find some outside person that you don't know. Otherwise, you know everyone. So now you have a sense of belonging together. And the various diverse set of people, Brahmanas, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Shudras, are distinctly seen as diversity within the village system. And this has now broken down because the unit of a village is now not able to sustain itself, and you now have to go into larger cities. And the biggest problem in cities is that you don't know very many people. You may have 20,000 people, 10,000 people, and you really know about less than 50 people. The rest of them are really just strangers. And so your attitude towards them is totally different. So this is the issue that we have in the Kali Yuga, that the fundamental aspects are broken down, but it doesn't mean that the principles of acceptance and love should not be maintained. Okay, so that should still go in the same way. And so the principles of a village system like existence is that the same issues that you have within home should also apply to people outside. To a large extent, not always possible, but to a large extent, you really do that. In fact, Swami Maheswaranji made an interesting point. He says, once in a while, you find that the hinges of a door are making this sound because they have become very dry. So it often happens, when you open the door, it makes a lot of screeching sound. And do you know what the screeching sound can be stopped by? Oil. And in Sanskritam, the oil is called sneha. Sneha also means love. So what this means is that the recipe for wrong way of rubbing against other people is to develop love for them. Discover love for them. You don't have to express the love, but your own attitudinal love will remove your own problems of intolerance. Love, acceptance, and what you have, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so this is the basic structure. With that, we now start to look at the parts of the samashti body. So here we go back to the mantra. He says, Mukham kim. Mukham kim. So Mukham is now answered in verse number 11, Brahmanaha asya mukham asit. Brahmana is the mukham. So who is the face of this Samashti Purusha? So the face of the Samashti Purusha is a Brahmin. So here we say Brahmanaha means Brahmin. So that's a different aspect of what kind of a Brahmin. Is it Jatitaha Brahmin, one who is born as a Brahmin? Or is it Gunataha Brahmin, one who is not born as a Brahmin but his qualities are like that of a Brahmin? So that distinction we will visit later on. But for now, let us look at a Jati Brahman. Jati Brahman. Because these are the four Jatis. Jati means the families by birth. So by birth Brahmin, by birth Kshatriya, by birth Vaishya, and by birth Shudra are the four different Jatis that have been created by Ishvara. So now let us look at the Jati Brahmana. Who is he? So here the Shruti says that the Brahmin is the face of this Purusha. Brahmin is the face of the Samashti Purusha. And so it is not the head, but the recognizable contours of the face should be considered to be the face of this Samashti Purusha, is the Brahmin. Okay. So now let us look at the qualities of a face. Why is a face very important and why is it mentioned first? So the reasons are that if you look at any being, let's say a human being, the face is what distinguishes that person from others. Their bodies may or may not be different. It is very difficult to distinguish. But the distinguishing feature of the face is what characterizes a person. You can hide the rest of the body, but if you try hiding the face, you cannot be sure about the person. That is happening these days when we all have masks on, and some of the masks are pretty big, and you also have people wearing spectacles, and some of them are wearing caps. You literally have the whole face completely covered. And even our on street, when my wife and I, we don't walk on the street as much as we used to, because I just walk it on my backyard. So if I'm driving off with my wife and there are people walking on our own street and you don't know who they are, so you just wave at them just in case they might see you. They don't know who you are, you don't know who they are, because all we are wearing masks. So the face of Ishvara, the face of the Ishvara is the Brahmin. Why is the Brahmin the face of the Ishvara? Why not? Because is Ishvara partial? That Brahmin is singled out as the very face and the others are not? Is he partial? No, not partial. But the Brahmin, again we are talking about the way it should be. It is not always like this, but because it is not always done this way doesn't mean that the structure is wrong. The structure is that the Brahmin is the one who holds the entry into Ishvara, upholds the very scriptures. The Brahmin is the one who is supposed to study and master the scriptures so that it can be disseminated to the others. It holds the physical structure of Ishvara's teaching. And it is meant for the society. Again, we are talking about not the misuse by the Brahmins, but the very basic structure of the Brahmins. The Brahmins are not supposed to be growing for themselves. Like Swami Maheshanji gives a very beautiful example. He says, if you look at our sense organs and our organs of action, like eyes, mouth, hands, and so on, the so-called indriyas. So the indriyas are meant for helping the rest of the body. Indriyas, like the eyes, have to look for the right kind of food. If you cannot see the right kind of food to eat, is it ripe or not? Is it unripe? The eyes have to see it. So the nose has to see whether this vegetable is edible or not. This meat is not edible. Don't like meat. All those kinds of distinguishing things are done by the indriyas. But the indriyas, this is the point, are helping me to grow myself as a healthy person. The indriyas themselves do not benefit from it. They are my loyal servants. The indriyas are the loyal servants that help the rest of the body fulfill itself. Indriyas by themselves are just my ambassadors. Similarly, the Brahmana by themselves do not get rich in the process. Our eyes do not become bigger because I eat more. They remain the same. But they help me to become bigger if I want to gain weight and to grow. Similarly, the Brahmana is the face where through the keeper of the teaching, it itself does not really prosper, but it delights as being the ambassador of Ishvara for bringing the growth of the rest of the society. This is the face of Ishvara, which is the Brahman, and a face which is important, which has to be distinguished from others, and which is selfless, and which serves as the very basic unit of the understanding of Vedanta. Could be Vedas, could be Karma Kanda, could be Upasana Kanda, could be Jnana Kanda, whatever it is. But they are the ones who keep the whole society together, because they again provide you with the technical structure of maintaining swaras also, chanting, of the basic structure of Vedanta. It's very interesting. I'll just end with this for the time being. There's a very interesting real case that when the British were trying to, they had already pretty much taken over the British India Trading Company and had made their presence very strong in India, took over the whole country. But they felt that the Indians are still isolated from, they are not completely conquered yet because they have their own thinking. And so they sent a number of scholars, and I believe Macaulay was the key one. So what Macaulay was a very sharp guy. What he did was to do a lot of research in the country. And what he said was that the Vedic teaching is the heart of India. The Hindu teaching is heart of India. And the Hindu Vedic teaching is maintained by Brahmins, because they are the ones who have studied this in a very authentic manner, and they are the ones who are the keepers of this knowledge, and the rest of the society really depends upon them for this authenticity. And so the key problem from a British point of view was the importance of the Brahmins in India. And they said, Macaulay actually went back and recommended it to the king and queen or whoever was king at that time, that what we need to do in order to consolidate our conquest of India is to somehow either decimate and eliminate the Brahmin class. It's like you cut off the head of the body and then the rest of the body will fall apart. And to a large extent they tried to do that and they were successful. They changed the whole educational system, what was taught in the school. They downgraded Sanskritam, and I don't know all the things that they did. But anyway, the point was that they came to the conclusion, rightly so, that what's holding the whole society together is the Brahmin class. And we need to eliminate them. So this was also an interesting conclusion, and it comes from really the recognition. Mukham kim asya kibasya brahmana asya mukham asit. And so here in the next class, there is a distinction Swami Maheshananji makes between asit and kritaha. Kritaha means which is generated, which is done. And asit means was already there. So the Brahmin is the face of Ishvara. And so it's not as though, Swami Maheshananji makes a very interesting point, an important point. He says, not as though he has created some people and then said, okay, now let us see who should be the Brahmin, who should be Vaishya, who should be who, etc. No. He created Brahmana in his mind first and then said, who can represent me? What do they need to do to represent me? What kind of studying they need to do? What kind of propagation of the species do they need to do in order to represent me as the very holder of the concept? So the face came first, and who should have the face came second. That was the point that Swami Maheshananji made. Anyway, we will continue with this analysis of the Samaja Purusha, the Varna system, the reason that we should, how we should look on the Varna as a growth element for myself. And this analysis we will continue in the next class. So with that, let me just end with one prayer. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Balamani ji says, can Ishvara make us realize Ishvara only instead of realizing the difference in Varna? Why rituals leads or misunderstood as hierarchy in human race, straight and or crooked are in him, as poet said. So yeah, I think that what is being said by this Kavi that you quote is that we can, if we have a choice. Let me put it this way: we have a choice where there are obvious differences in who we deal with people, as very much we see the what's happening in Washington and all of that. There are two very distinct ways of looking at reality and so on and so forth. And so it is not something that you can ignore. But I think that the way to deal with that is to say that both sides are really part of the same Ishvara, and one side has gone astray because, and I'm just giving an example of this, because they are espousing lies as truth. Because they are very selfish. So be that as it may, we should recognize that these are people who are hurting themselves and hurting others. But one should really just tolerate them rather than hate them. Why? Because hating someone really hurts yourself. Tolerating someone, tolerating the differences amongst people and so on and so forth, is a way for you to reconcile that this is Ishvara's doing. Whatever is being done is by Ishvara himself, and let him take care of it. I'll do the best I can to help in the process, but I am not going to disturb myself to a point where I become unhappy. Because my becoming unhappy is to displease the Ishvara within me. See, this is the thing I have to understand. That the Ananda of the self is non-different from the Ananda of Ishvara. And so if I become unhappy with myself, I'm not hurting anyone else, but I'm hurting myself and hurting Ishvara within myself. So I should continue to see the diversity. It's not as though I should not support the good parts of the society. Of course we should do that. But while I am doing it, the objective should be that they are all different aspects of Ishvara. Let him worry about who comes in and who goes and so on. But I'm not going to lose my sleep over something by hating someone. So I don't know if I really answered the spirit of what you were asking, but I just thought that this is how I would answer, or which I thought you were asking. If not, then please re-ask this question again. Vandana Agarwal says, I thought the Gita stresses guna karma rather than birth of deciding varna. Well, no, the varna is there. Jati taha varna is there already. What Gita is saying is that it's not that it's ignoring. No, the Gita, because of course, if you were to compare Gita with the Upanishad, then so this is from the Vedas themselves. This is Vedas saying, this is Ishvara's own voice. Gita is an interpretation of the Ishvara's voice. So I don't think the Gita would be wrong, but if we were to be wrong, then the authenticity is in the Vedas. So the Vedas does say, yes, there is jati taha varna, no question about that. It says very clearly that I created the face, etc., etc. And it is very normal. There is nothing wrong with this, because if you look at any society, you find that we will discuss this in more detail later on, that you find people who are very cerebral, people who are very strong, people who support the whole society by commerce and trade, and people who may not be very sharp, but they are strong physically and they have the right attitude. Those are the kind of four different kind of people that we see everywhere. So it's not as though that we created them or anything like that. But the idea is to look at the diverse. The same thing with the human body, as we said before, that there are different functions required that complement each other. And we need to really not ignore them. And he says, no, I cannot say that my feet are inferior to my brain. They're all the very important things. And so, hey, the feet have a different function than the brain. If the brain is injured, you're gone. If the feet are injured, then you can still walk. So they are different functions. You cannot ignore the fact that they exist. So similarly, you cannot ignore the fact that there is Brahmins, Kshatriyas, etc., etc. But then in terms of keeping them isolated from each other, and that a Brahmin, a Kshatriya can never become a Brahmin like that. No. A Kshatriya can be more knowledgeable in Vedas than a Brahmin can be. So then it is wonderful. Then it is the real Brahmin who is very knowledgeable about the Vedas. And so on. So Gunataha also the Varnas are cared for. But Jatitaha, they are there and we need to recognize it. Yeah, that's what I would think. So Balamaniji, I hope you're answered. It looks like you said you do, but if you have some other questions, please ask me again. And I don't see any other questions, so with that, I'll wait for another half a minute or so. So Krishna Ryan says that I thought that jati is an invention of the human beings. There's no jati in Vedic period. Only guna existed in Vedic times. I don't think so. No, it's always been there. Always been there. But perhaps the distinctions were not as stark. So for example, I believe that Vashishta, who is the teacher of Rama, was a Kshatriya. And so were many of the kings who were very well versed in the Vedas, and they were teachers. And so that might be the case, that they were all different. But in terms of the jati, this jati was never really created by human beings. It comes from the Ishvara itself and will continue to be. And so the Brahmin jati was entrusted with really keeping the teaching intact and to just focus on that and to teach the rest of the society. This is what they are supposed to do. The fact that some of them became outwardly bound, becoming money earners or doctors or whatever it is, it's besides the point. The point is that the main jati of the Brahmanas are still entrusted to make sure that the authenticity of the teaching is kept. And so the functions of each one of these four people is still very pure. So I would even say that those of us who are very studious and very pure-minded in terms of research are Brahmins. So Gunataha, we are Brahmins, no doubt about it. But we should also say that in terms of probability, the chances that a Brahmin person born in a Brahmin family is more likely to be studious than other people. I think that probability I accept. It is there. Only in probability, not 100%, but in terms of probability, a Brahmin jati is more likely to be pure research oriented than others, and vice versa for all the other ones as well. Yeah. Okay, I see Vandana's question. I was replying to Vijayji's explanation. All right, sounds good. Thank you all. We will see you next week. Om.